Hello friends, so today's video is going to be an anti-5-star predictions. So the idea behind this is basically I'm taking the concept of a 5-star predictions video, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's when people predict that they're gonna love a book and that it's gonna be a 5-star. I'm taking that idea and then kind of tweaking it a little bit, a lot. I'm kind of making it the exact opposite. So these are books that I plan to read, but their synopses make me think that they aren't actually going to be for me. I don't go out of my way to purposefully pick up books I think I'm going to hate. I know some people enjoy doing that because maybe their viewers like seeing their reactions, or maybe because sometimes it's just fun to read something that is absolutely not something that you like, but there's something funny about it. So that's not exactly what this is. The idea behind this is that every now and then I will have a book that I'm like, I don't think I'm going to like that. And I give it a try and I end up loving it. So it's sort of a way to force myself to push myself outside my bookish comfort zone. First up on the list, we have Piranesi. Every time people describe it, I'm always like, that doesn't sound good. And then they'll be like, no, but I swear it's really good. And I'm like, I don't believe you. I believe that they like it, and I believe that it's a quality book. I just never think I'm gonna like it. But a lot of people say, I honestly thought I would not like that book at all, and then I picked it up and I really liked it. So a great example of this happening to me in the past was the book The Kingdom of Back. I really did not think I was gonna like it. It had so many little words that made me think, no, and Piranesi kind of falls into that same camp. For one, it's very short. I love Nettle and Bone, so Nettle and Bone has proven to me that a fantasy book can be exceptionally short and still have a great story within it. But I'm still always a little skeptical because I like taking time with the characters. I actually do kind of like a slower pace. So when I see something so short, I am always a little nervous, especially too, I don't tend to like novellas. The only exceptions are probably like the Sapkowski short stories. I actually think he's a better short story writer than he is a full-length novel or series writer. I'm getting off track. Regardless, this is short, so that's already one thing. And everybody always says it's really abstract and kind of convoluted and a little confusing, and it's this experience. But I loved it. I always hear people say that, and I'm like, did you, or were you just confused? You know what? Maybe I'll be that same person. So I don't know. We'll find out with Piranesi. The next one would be The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I really do like a lot of V. Schwab's works. I like her writing. Even when a book is not my absolute favorite, I still just like the way she tells a story. I like her authorial voice. I like that she has this sort of twisted wickedness in basically every single one of her books, even when the concepts are completely different. I also think that she has such an incredible imagination. The concepts themselves are always really unique and interesting. Addie LaRue is probably one of the least unique of her works in that the premise is basically this girl can live for forever, but nobody remembers her, so like, what's the point? That's, a perfect way to describe this book, I'm sure. But that, to me, it's kind of been there, done that. It's not the most original. So that already, I was like, I'll read it when I read it, I guess. And initially, reviews were extremely high. People were praising this left and right. And then it's becoming incredibly popular. So, of course, inevitably, there are going to be people that are like, no, I don't like this. And there are going to be people that are like, I hated this. This was an extreme letdown. I hated everything about it. I hated that we didn't focus on these things that should have been focused on because that would have been realistic. But of course we did. And there's just such a wide range of feelings towards this book. So I'm like, I don't really know where I'll fall. But then on top of that, I think a lot of people have noted that this book is a lot of vibes. And it also is very much a story of questioning your purpose and questioning the point of life and your existence. And I don't know. That has the potential to be something I find really powerful and really moving, or it could get a tiny bit pretentious and I could just be like, I want to go read Vicious again. It could just not work for me at all. That's kind of the whole point of this video. This could work. I don't know, though. I will admit that I do like when I match the books that I'm talking about. I didn't mean to, but so far, all three of them have had kind of this look. Anyway, so the next one would be book 2 of the Codex Alera series by Jim Butcher. Earlier, at the time I'm filming this, I don't know when this video will go up, but it's currently still 2022. So at the time that I'm filming this, I can say that I read the first book earlier this year. And I liked it. It was fun. It was kind of middle of the road for me. It wasn't anything new. In fact, I think it was a little cliche at times. And I didn't love... It moved very fast, despite being a pretty big book. They don't look that big, but they're pretty large. It moved pretty fast, and so I was always gripped. I was always interested. I always wanted to turn the page. The magic was cool, but I didn't really get very many answers. And so I didn't quite know how it worked. Even though it has, I think, clear rules and limitations, I don't know them all yet from just that first book. The villain felt kind of distant, which I don't always mind, but at the same time, it didn't feel like they were supposed to be distant. It kind of felt like I was supposed to really hate them. And when I would see them, I'm like, they seem kind of cartoonishly villainous, but I don't know, maybe there's more to this. And it seems like there's a lot of history to why certain groups hate other groups and why certain groups have been used as a scapegoat and why they're being taken advantage of now. And all these things that I didn't think were they didn't get quite the same depth as I would have liked. And so it was fine. That was the whole experience. It was fine. But so many of you have said you have to keep reading. The character growth is amazing. The arcs are amazing. The way that it takes off, it becomes so epic. You have to keep going. So this is one where I'm trusting all of you that I'm going to keep going. But as of right now, I'm like, I think it's going to kind of keep being like that was fun sort of read for me. But I don't know. Maybe I'll end up really, really loving this series. One of you said that the arc for one of the main characters for you is, I'm saying this like so judgmentally, but one of you compared it to Kaladin. And I'm like, that's very high praise, okay? So, don't be throwing that out there too casually. I'm teasing, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, that has made me want to keep going, I'm not gonna lie. But if it doesn't, then I'm gonna be mad at you. I'm not really. I believe you that the character arcs are great. I just really love Kaladin. Next up, I think I actually have the potential to really, really love this book, but I don't know. And that would be Spellslinger. So I read the Traitor's Blade, by Sebastian de Castell. And there were so many things that I was really liking about the book. I liked the tone. I liked the adventurous feel. I liked how fun it was and how it wasn't as serious as some of the other fantasy books I pick up. But there were a few scenes that were kind of strange. I can just feel Alan, my friend Alan, being like, nobody likes those scenes. Okay, we all know nobody likes those scenes. But I didn't like certain scenes in the book, and I thought that the way things wrapped up was a little strange, and so I didn't continue on with that series, even though I thought it had so much potential to be one that I would really like. So the reason I say I could really like this is because I liked the writing style. I liked the fun feeling of that story. This is young adult, so the kind of strange things that occurred in the other series, or the first book in that series I read, they're things that aren't going to happen in a YA book, I would think and hope anyway. And it's not that I fault in thinking like, oh, it was a terrible book because it had those things in it. It's just that the way they were executed, I didn't love. However, I don't even think that there will be an attempt to have those sorts of topics within this because it was very mature content. And so I have a feeling that I actually could really like this. But I also have no idea. I don't know. It'll be fun though. It'll be fun to pick this one up. After that, we have The Stone Sky. I have read the first 2 books now in the Broken Earth trilogy, and I did not love when I picked up the 5th season for the second time. So I had attempted to read it years and years ago, and I was like, I don't really like this whole second person perspective, and I gave up on it way too soon. I didn't really give it a fair try, so I was like, I need to come back to that series and give it a fair try. Read the first book. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I was kind of middle of the road. I did not really care for the sequel. I can't tell if it's just one of those it's middle book syndrome situation, or if I just don't like the direction the story is going in. I do appreciate so many of the themes throughout, and I always respect when an author takes creative chances with their works, which I definitely think N.K. Jemisin has done in this series, so I respect that immensely. But I also don't love aspects of the story. I think the world is so interesting, and there's the way it's written, the decision to use second-person perspective and things like that. It does, for me, create this sort of sense of distance, and I understand why it's written the way it is, because there's some reveals that tie to why things are written the way they are, but at the same time, I didn't love that second book, and so I really don't know how I'm going to feel about the third one. So far, the first two books, neither of them, I have not loved either of them, so I don't know that this one is going to suddenly be a 5-star and then I'm going to love this trilogy. I have a feeling that I'll finish it and I'll be like, it was kind of a continuation of the story, and it continued to be like the same feelings as well. Very much switching gears, the next one would be The Kiss Curse. This is the book that comes after The X-Hex. So I've tried to branch out, read a little bit more fantasy romance here the last year and a half, and The X-Hex was not my favorite. It's another one that was kind of middle of the road for me. It was fine. I didn't really care that much about the romance, which is kind of like the point, right, when you're reading a romance. And the plot was just sort of like, it was there to facilitate the characters coming together and having to be in close proximity and for them to hook up, basically. I wasn't that gripped by it. So I wasn't sure if I even really wanted to give The Kiss Curse a try, but I have seen some people that were saying that they didn't love the X-Hex, but they really, really liked this one. And then also sometimes with romance stories, it really does come down to how much you like the relationship and the characters in the relationship. So we'll see. That's really all there is to this one. Next up, we have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. A school setting for a story is one that sometimes I really enjoy it, other times I'm really not all that interested. This one seems like it's literally a deadly education where everybody's kind of in danger at this magic school and the stakes are really high, but there's just something about that premise that almost seems cheesy to me. So I wasn't all that interested, but Naomi Novik has surprised me. So I did enjoy Temeraire. That was the first thing by her I read. I need to reread that first book and continue on with that series. I've been wanting to do it for years at this point. I didn't like Uprooted whatsoever, really at all. And then with Spinning Silver, I loved it. So I was thinking, okay, it's kind of hit or miss. And sometimes the ones that I'm thinking, oh, I'm probably not going to love this all that much, I end up really liking. So I wanted to give A Deadly Education a try and see what I think of it. Last on the list, I think this more so is considered horror, but horror can somewhat fall into fantasy a little bit, and that would be Mexican Gothic. This is one that I have also been meaning to read for a while, and I am just not a big horror reader. That's really all it comes down to, is I typically don't want to be scared. So I also don't love when the scary things are somewhat unexplained. I don't know what it is. I can deal with a soft magic system where I'm like, it's just magic. But when creepy things are happening, I'm like, why are the creepy things happening? But that's also super hypocritical of me, because at the same time, when I get too much of an explanation, then I'm like, well, it's not scary anymore because all the mystery is gone. So I don't know what I like, I guess, with fantasy horror and scary books in general. So with Mexican Gothic, I just don't know. We'll see someday. That's it for some books that I am currently anticipating might not be all-time new favorites, but I'm still definitely going to give all of these a try. Let me know what books are in a similar camp for you. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.